The benefits of decluttering your mind. When we throw out the physical clutter, we clear our minds. When we throw out the mental clutter, we clear our souls. Gail Blanky. As we learned in the previous chapter, distraction, stress, and caving to instant gratification are some of the negative impacts of clutter. The more stressed we are, the more likely we are to experience anxiety and overthinking. If we want to eliminate these troublesome and sometimes dangerous side effects, we need to declutter our minds. Decluttering your mind isn't easy. It can take a lot of work, and it may require you to make some difficult choices. You are going to have to choose the hard road over the easy road sometimes. But when you know the benefits that await you when you rid your life of clutter, it becomes so much easier to make the right choice. Mental clutter undermines you at every turn. As long as your lifestyle is cluttered, filling your daily schedule with busy work and tasks that don't align with your goals, you will experience the negative effects. Trying to achieve success, whatever success means to you, is difficult when you spend your time in a cluttered house or cluttered workspace, dealing with a cluttered mind. To declutter your mind is to lessen the impact of these negative effects and, ultimately, to remove their power over you altogether. Decluttering helps you deal with the problem at its source. You reduce the number of things in your life that contribute to stress and stop using impulse purchases to manage your moods. Through this, you are able to free up time that you would have otherwise spent either completing meaningless tasks or worrying about these sources of stress. Decluttering your mind gives you more time to rest, and it can significantly improve your mentality. These are positive effects that are well worth any amount of effort required to achieve them. How decluttering your mind supports your continued growth. If you've ever done spring cleaning, you know what it feels like to transform a mess of old junk, piles of clothes, and other clutter into a neat and tidy room. The work is a little tiring, and you're sure to get a good workout from it. You might spend an entire day throwing things out and rearranging what's left, or you might break it up and tackle the work over multiple days or weeks. No matter how you tackle it, there's a sense of satisfaction that comes from a job well done. When you look around you and see everything in its place, free of anything that had only been gathering dust while it went unused, you feel good about what you've accomplished. It's like you're giving yourself an opportunity to start over, and as long as you keep things clean and avoid buying things you don't need again, you won't have to repeat the process next spring. Since mental decluttering follows the same principles as minimalistic interior design, it can bring us similar results. When we declutter our minds, we give ourselves a greater sense of freedom. Our schedules open up, our thoughts are free from distractions, and the restless buzzing of our thoughts at the back of our head is quieted. Without mental clutter, we can feel more at peace than we have for years. Alongside all of these benefits, we also make it easier for ourselves to focus on the future rather than lingering in the past. As we begin thinking about what's next for us, we can start to clear out any responsibilities that don't help us achieve our goals, making us more efficient and more relaxed at the same time. Free up your schedule. A cluttered schedule full of assignments and deadlines isn't conducive to a good work-life balance or good mental health. We can only deal with so many tasks at a time. If we are constantly running around without any downtime, we're only going to grow more exhausted each day. Eventually, we start to feel burned out. Even doing small tasks becomes almost impossible, and everything takes much more effort than it ever did before. Burnout can decimate our ability to be productive and lead us into the trap of procrastination. When we already have a busy schedule, procrastinating makes things even worse. Mental clutter mounts as we think of all the things we need to do, but we lack the motivation necessary to get any of them done. When we begin decluttering our schedules, the wave of work that threatens to overwhelm us grows smaller by the day. Instead of a mountain of tasks waiting for us each day, we start doing only those that really need to get done. This allows us to manage our time better and gives us more free time. Decompression is just as important as getting work done. If we are constantly stressed, the quality of our work will suffer. Freeing up our schedules and giving ourselves breaks lets us feel relaxed and rejuvenated. Rather than making us lazy, this encourages us to get more work done. We are no longer distracted by small tasks, nor do we constantly feel burned out. Because of this, we have the energy and motivation we need to tackle the important things we've been putting off. The quality of our work improves, and we have more time available to share with family and friends. Decluttering can help us improve our mentalities about work too. When you're constantly busy, every bit of new work feels like a chore. You dread getting new assignments and responsibilities because you have to find a way to fit them in with everything that's already on your to-do list. When you drop some of the unimportant tasks and give yourself less to do each day, any new task feels less like a burden and more like an opportunity. We start feeling excited by work and other activities again because we feel like we're making a choice of whether or not to take them on, rather than having them forced upon us. When we are in greater control of our lives and our daily schedules, even the hard tasks become something we're doing because we're passionate about the outcome. We have made the deliberate choice to commit to the task, knowing that it really matters to us whether or not it gets done. This feeling of self-empowerment makes difficult activities a lot more bearable. Eliminate circling thoughts. When our minds are cluttered, we give ourselves a lot to think about. Whether we ruminate on the busy day we just had, think about what awaits us tomorrow, or simply get distracted by our environment, our thoughts may grow to be loud and disruptive. It's hard to focus on anything when these thoughts clutter our minds. We might find ourselves drifting and hardly paying attention to what's in front of us. This ensures we can't focus our full concentration on anything, whether we're trying to work on something or relax. We end up doing everything by half measures, sabotaging ourselves with the thoughts that won't stop circling in our heads. If we're working, our train of thought falters periodically, and the quality of our work may suffer. If we're trying to relax, reminders of the responsibilities we're avoiding keep intruding upon what should be a leisurely activity, causing stress to return full force. Circling thoughts are especially troublesome when they follow you to bed. If you're someone who frequently finds yourself overthinking, you've probably kept yourself up with your worries before. Every time you try to close your eyes and clear your mind, another source of anxiety intrudes upon your thoughts. You think about something that happened earlier in the day that didn't go as planned, or something you need to do tomorrow that's giving you stress already. Thoughts bounce around in your skull, ensuring that every time you nearly fall asleep, you are jolted awake again. This may even become a nightly occurrence if things in your life don't slow down. Overthinking can lead to chronic insomnia, which limits the amount of sleep you get each night and leaves you feeling almost perpetually tired. You don't want to float through the next day in a barely there haze, especially if you've got a schedule that's as cluttered as your thoughts. Decluttering your mind helps you calm these circling thoughts, so you can focus during the day and get better rest at night. When your mind isn't constantly jumping from one thing to another, always reminding you of all your sources of worry, it is much easier to settle your thoughts. Instead of lying in bed all night staring up at your ceiling, you'll be able to relax and fall asleep more readily. This will leave you feeling refreshed and ready to go the next day, more than capable of handling whatever life throws at you without slipping back into mental clutter. Trade anxiety for peace and calmness. Too much clutter makes us anxious. If this clutter is physical, we can feel like we're trapped, forcing our way through our homes rather than following the natural flow of each room. It's uncomfortable to pick our way around a cluttered room, and it requires us to think about where we're going more than a clean room would. On top of this, if we keep items around because we believe we will need them again at some unknown future point, we likely do so out of a form of anxiety. We worry that we will be unprepared for the future if we don't have 20 different charging cables in our desk, or if we don't keep the clothes that we haven't worn in years but might wear again someday. Maybe we feel anxious about the money we spent on items that ultimately turned out to be less useful than we thought, and we're only keeping them around out of this same sense of anxiety. Rather than keeping our minds at peace, living in a cluttered environment leaves us with mounting worries and fears that are often unrealistic or unnecessary. A cluttered schedule and mind give us this same form of clutter anxiety. If we're always racing to keep up with everything we need to do today, we never give ourselves a chance to relax and unwind. If we allow our thoughts to circle and spiral into negativity at every turn, we start looking at everything through a negative lens, which only makes our anxiety worse. Decluttering is the solution of these problems. With a cleaner living space, a less demanding schedule, and no more circling thoughts, many of the everyday sources of anxiety we encounter will vanish too. Without them, we will feel more comfortable and peaceful. Rather than bustling around, we can take our time with tasks and give them the attention they deserve. This eliminates any worries about a poorly done job. It also takes a load off our shoulders and encourages us to slow down and breathe. Less mental clutter helps us feel peaceful and dispels many different sources of worry that would otherwise hold us back. Focus on your future. Many of the things that clutter our minds are relics of the past. They sit on shelves in our mind collecting dust, even as they continue to give us anxiety and stress. Think about how many items you have in your home that you just haven't used in years. Unless you've made a dedicated effort to go minimalist, you probably have plenty of things you bought with the best of intentions but never ended up using. Now, you might only keep them around out of a sense of obligation. You made an unnecessary purchase in the past, you reason, so the least you can do is keep it until it becomes useful again. However, the item in question typically never ends up becoming useful again. It only takes up space. Past decisions in many different forms can continue to haunt us long after we make them. If we're happy with our job but we've had it for many years, we might rationalize it by pointing out that we've had it forever and it would be tough to get a new one. Because we have convinced ourselves that we are comfortable as we are, we cling to the past, unwilling to hunt for a job that would make us happier. Old relationships can be negative forces in our lives too. Not all old friendships are bad. Of course, we might have some friends we made in childhood whose company we still enjoy, and that's fine, but sometimes we continue a friendship only because we've had it for a long time. If the relationship is draining rather than fulfilling, we should ask ourselves why we insist on maintaining it. Learning to let go of toxic relationships is a huge step towards decluttering our minds. It isn't always easy, but if we remain stuck in these harmful relationships, we will never be able to move forward with our lives. Impulse purchases kept around for years, dead-end jobs, toxic relationships, and other sources of clutter are all things of the past. They keep us trapped in place, connecting us to our old lives and preventing us from escaping to a cleaner, less cluttered life. We have to learn to let go of these things before we can move forward. We must keep with us only those things that are positive, healthy forces in our lives and throw out everything else. Otherwise, we will always be looking backward instead of forward. By ridding ourselves of clutter, we can start focusing on our future, not our past. Is decluttering really effective? The amazing effects of decluttering might sound too good to be true. You may also be wondering to yourself, is clutter really this powerful? Can decluttering actually help me make these changes? It might be hard to see just how effective decluttering can be in your life if you picture it only as throwing away some old junk, or if you think decluttering only happens on a mental level. You might picture decluttering as something as simple as a meditation exercise. Perhaps you will clear your mind, but all of the clutter will still be there when the meditation ends. However, while meditation might be one part of your decluttering strategy, it shouldn't be the only one. Decluttering doesn't just occur in your mind, it occurs in all aspects of your life. Clutter is present in many different areas of our lives, so we must declutter each of these areas. Decluttering is a promise you make to yourself to rid your life of everything holding you back. It doesn't stop at just donating a few piles of unworn clothes, and it's not as temporary as a vacation away from your busy life. If you declutter your life, the effects are permanent. When you experience these effects for yourself, you will have no desire to clutter your life all over again and go back to the way things were before. You will start making decisions with more forethought, and you will subconsciously make choices that keep your life free of unnecessary clutter. This will help you feel freer as well. Decluttering is most effective because it helps you focus on the most important parts of your life. If you find yourself caught up in activities that don't benefit you, decluttering helps you let these activities go. You throw out everything that doesn't align with your desires and goals. Whether this is as small of a change as finally getting rid of old clothes that no longer fit, or as big of a change as pursuing a new career path. Through this process, you find out what matters to you and what you want to achieve with your life. You also have the time and desire to work toward these goals. Decluttering is so powerful because it allows you to become more in control of your life and gives you all of the tools you need to turn your life around for the better. Chapter Takeaways. This chapter explained how decluttering your mind can help you. In this chapter, you learned, too much clutter keeps you from becoming the best person you can be. Decluttering will help you reduce the amount of work you're expected to do each day and cut your to-do list down to only the necessary tasks. With less clutter, racing thoughts will slow down and you will experience more peace and calmness. From this new perspective, you can start working toward goals that are truly important to you.